Donald Trump is promising to roll out a new gold card program to replace the investment-based green card program. He claims it'll bring millions of wealthy people from around the world to come and live in the United States. And some are saying that this is even the beginning of a citizenship by investment program in the United States. We've got all the details on Donald Trump's new gold card program. This is breaking news. We're going to talk about the new Trump Gold Card program. I'm sure more details will become available as time goes on. I'm going to break down what Donald Trump said. We're going to share a news article about the details of this program, and I'm going to give you my opinion as someone who helps wealthy clients move overseas every day on this new Gold Card program. Really quickly, if you already live in the U.S., if you live in a Western high-tax legacy brand country and you're tired of it, you're looking to move somewhere else, you're looking to get your gold card somewhere else, Live Like a King Medellin premieres on February 28th. It's one place you could consider moving. Check that out. Here's the details on the Gold Card program from Donald Trump.
We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people.
So the bottom line is it's going to be a $5 million fee. I think there's a little bit of confusion whenever it comes to investment versus fee. It would seem in exchange for a $5 million fee means this is money you're giving to the U.S. government that you're not going to get back. One of the things that Donald Trump said this is going to do is to help reduce the deficit. Hey, that's good. The U.S. has big deficit, big national debt. I don't agree with his numbers. I'll come back to that later. You're paying $5 million to get a green card in the U.S. Let's look at the two most important data points there. One that we help a number of our clients get is Malta's citizenship program. Malta's a European Union country. Now, Malta itself can be relatively tax friendly. That's a cool place to live. It's in the Mediterranean. It's a nice laid back lifestyle. But what Malta offers is membership in the European Union. And so as a Maltese citizen, which you can get by donating with all the fees, a little under $1 million at the current exchange rates, you get access not only to live in Malta, not only to travel as a European Union citizen, which I think has a bit more panache and a bit less geopolitical baggage in the US, a little bit better passports. But you also have the ability to live in any of the European Union countries, plus those like Switzerland in the EEA. That's going to cost you a bit under $1 million, depending on your family size. So already we're talking about more than 5xing the most competitive, similar program. Malta is going to give you citizenship, all told, in about 15, 18 months through their program if you make that larger donation. So 5 times the fee to get a U.S. gold card. And I'm going to come back to why the citizenship angle they're pitching here, I think, is not what it's all cracked up to be. And in the United States, there's different numbers for the current EB-5 program, but they're going to basically 5x that investment. And so we'll come back to that in a moment. So already I think the program is a little bit overpriced, but let's go through the notes. This is from CNN. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday the U.S. would sell a gold card program to wealthy foreigners, giving them the right to live and work in the United States and offering a path to citizenship in exchange for that $5 million fee. First question, what does path to citizenship mean? Is it going to be any faster than it is? A green card is a path to citizenship. A green card allows you to come and you spend a number of years and you spend most of your time in the U.S. during that time. And then you can apply for citizenship if you meet the criteria. You can naturalize as anyone else would in any other country around the world. You can naturalize the same way that someone who gets a Portugal Golden Visa can naturalize, except the difference with a U.S. green card is they want you to be there most of the time. I mean, you can't be taking long absences from the U.S. And so a Portugal Golden Visa, for example, is a more flexible way for someone who wants to get European Union citizenship over a longer period of time at a cheaper price than Malta. But you don't need to live there to be working towards citizenship. You got to spend a week or two, a year there. And so in the U.S., the question is, path to citizenship, is Donald Trump going to have some criteria in this gold card where you don't always have to be living in the United States to be working towards citizenship? Is he going to speed up the timeline before you can apply for citizenship? Because Malta's doing it, soup to nuts, let's call it 18 months. If Donald Trump's going to say, hey, you got to go through all the normal processing, and then you got to wait 5 years, then you got to wait for apply for citizenship, that's just a normal, way to get citizenship as anyone else would. You could use any other immigrant visa to do that. What are you getting for your $5 million? Well, again, I'll come to what they're looking to change in a minute. But there's a lot of ways to get on a path to U.S. citizenship. The question is this a citizenship by investment program that some of the media, the uninformed media, are making it out to be? It does not immediately seem to be. It doesn't seem like you pay $5 million and here's your passport. There's no legal framework for that. That would have to go, I would think it'd have to go through Congress. This just seems like, hey, you give us $5 million and you get a green card. And I'm not sure any of the normal green card conditions have changed. The article continues. We're going to be selling a gold card, as you heard Trump say from the Oval Office. The price is $5 million. Wealthy people are going to be coming into our country and buying this card. He said the sale of the cards will begin in about 2 weeks and suggested millions of cards will be sold. Now, I'm not a U.S. policy expert. When clients come to us from Latin America and say they want to move to the U.S., we generally talk them out of it for all the reasons I'll go to in here in a minute. Millions of cards will be sold. Just not going to happen. That simply will not happen. Malta has a citizenship program that in all likelihood is faster. Yes, the U.S. has this, this brand, which I think is really all the U.S. has been in recent years, is a brand that has lost its luster, but people still think of the brand. Malta sells thousands of people who can live and work anywhere in the European Union. Why is Trump going to sell thousands of times that? 1,000 times 1,000 is a million. He says millions of cards will be sold for 5 times the price of what I would argue is one of the next best competitors for someone on a fast track. And oh, by the way, you don't really have to live in Malta. You got to go there and spend a relatively negligible amount of time, and you don't need to live there after you get it. So there's so much less of a commitment, so much less of a price for Malta. I mean, the most successful citizenship by investment program in the world right now is Turkey, and they'll sell in the tens of thousands. And so, yes, does the U.S. have a certain brand to certain people? Yeah. We work with wealthy clients all the time. Both the Westerners and increasingly the Easterners realize, yeah, the U.S. comes with a lot of baggage. I'm going to come back to that. I see zero chance they sell millions of these cards for $5 million. I had a conversation with someone years ago. What if Switzerland rolled out an actual citizenship by investment? Could they charge $10 million and get like 1,000 people and just put, a big amount of money? Like for Switzerland, that, it's a lot more valuable. I just don't see these numbers working. And I certainly don't see millions of these being sold. Again, particularly given the fact that I don't see any evidence. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they will say, hey, it's 1 year to citizenship once you get it. In which case, on the timeline, it's comparable to Malta, and then only the price is higher. I do not right now see any evidence that they're going to give you citizenship faster. You're just on the same path as everyone else. You don't have to get a job or marry someone else or do any of the other things that you need to do to get an immigrant visa. Trump says he'll consider some of these to Russian oligarchs. So interesting that they're going to, the U.S. could open up, and that could be interesting. I wonder what impact that could have on the rest of the citizenship and residence by investment community if the U.S. says, hey, Russians are okay to come on in, because Russians have been shut out of a number of those programs. They'll have to go through a vetting, of course, says Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, to make sure that they are wonderful, world-class global citizens. I thought that a lot of the people who supported Trump didn't like global citizens. They come and tell me I'm not patriotic. I left the United States. If you're just watching this, I gave up U.S. citizenship. It is, when you're living as a global citizen, as a nomad capitalist, it is baggage that at times is too much to carry. I thought the U.S. didn't want global citizens. I guess they've changed their opinion. And so what's interesting to me as I watch this is the U.S., and I told you this 3 years ago, sitting right over there, the U.S. wants to make it harder for you to be a dual citizen. They want to make it harder for you to get out of their tax net. They want to make it harder for you to have options all around the world, the kind of citizenship programs that we help our clients with, whether it's particularly in the Caribbean, their own backyard, but also other places around the world. They go around and, along with the EU, bully some of these programs that offer citizenship by investment, just small little countries that need the money. They go around bullying those. And you know what I said? I said, this is the culture of the United States, to go around and bullying people. Because guess what? Now they're in. Now the U.S. wants to do it. You give them $5 million and apparently they'll put you on a path to citizenship for a $5 million fee. So this is very telling about the U.S. and other legacy brand Western countries. They're not morally opposed to any of the things that they push. They're just angry they can't get in on the action. They're angry that people like me and thousands of other people like me every year give up U.S. citizenship and take their business somewhere else. And by the way, I've made well over 90% of my wealth outside of the United States. So the idea that I made all my money in the U.S. and then ran is simply incorrect. I've made the vast, vast majority of my wealth outside of the United States. And so that's kind of telling. And I think that tells you everything that you need to know, particularly if you're a US citizen or if you're moving there. There are no principles. It's just might makes right. What this will replace, according to Trump, is the EB-5 program. Know a lot of people who are in the EB-5 business. You make an investment, there's different amounts. That's not the space that we work in, but I guess 800,000, 1.05 million. I think Trump tried to raise it to like 1.7 million when he was in office the first time, and that got blocked. But let's just call it around $1 million. You get an EB-5, and that's the same thing that gets you a green card. Apparently, they're going to get rid of that program, and they're going to replace it with the gold card program. There will be other ways to move to the United States, but as an investor, it seems like Trump wants to shut down the EB-5, saying there's fraud and abuse. Interestingly enough, some of his own family was involved in their businesses had programs that benefited from EB-5 investments. I believe Jared Kushner was involved in one of those. So to me, the U.S. Embassy screens people pretty darn seriously when you want just even to get a visitor's visa, let alone to move there. I have no idea if there's fraud in the program, but I would think that that's one of the most rigorous due diligence processes that you can go through is moving to the United States. In fact, we have the numbers from the EB-5 program, and this is what I promised you I'd talk about in terms of how many people this is going to attract and why I don't believe the claim that millions of people are going to buy a gold card. Because for everyone who says, everybody wants to move to the United States, why does everyone want to move here? Last year, the EB-5 program, starting as little as $800,000, had 8,000 people who came. More wealthy people left the UK last year, let alone Russia, China, everywhere else. Apparently, everyone does not want to move. And when I talked at Live Like a King Medellin to our guest, one of the Miss Universe contestants, and said, hey, would you move to the U.S.? She's like, no, I like it here. I'm making money. I'm running a business. I'm enjoying myself. She would really, if you really asked her off camera, she'd tell you the truth. 8,000 wealthy people moved to the U.S. last year. 8,000 at 1/6 the price. So I don't see it. Also, the article talks about how Trump, as you heard, it says these people are going to be moving and paying lots of taxes. I also thought he was getting rid of taxes. I thought that I was preparing to move back to the United States because there's not going to be any income tax. Here's the bottom line. And here's why, of course, my takeaway is there's better options out there than to move to a country that is a brand. Listen, there's some things in here. I like that Trump is taking this approach. I like that he's being open to various nationalities. I don't think that just because you're a Russian, you should be shut out of the entire world. There's Russians who are against their government and against their president, and they have money and they want to go somewhere. I don't necessarily see why they should be shut out. So there's elements about this that I respect. But I think my genuine problem and why I wouldn't move back to the United States and why I don't really generally recommend people move to the United States is there's a culture there, and I'm sure this is true for some other legacy brand countries too, where the idea is everyone wants to move here and there's a total detachment in the culture from the realities happening in the rest of the world. As I travel all around the world, live in my homes, go to new places, talk to people who are wealthy and successful, very few of them have any interest in visiting, let alone moving to the United States. And yet, you look at Trump and you look at a lot of Americans, they would say, everyone wants to come here. We literally made a video on why moving to the U.S. is overrated as a response to the hundreds and thousands of comments that we get of, well, if it's so bad. Right. Trump wants to attract wealthy people. Wealthy people have options. They can go to Malta, which gives them the opportunity to live anywhere in Europe. They can go and get citizenship in other European countries. Latin America is ascending. Asia is doing very well. Other citizenship by investment programs like the one in Turkey are doing very well. There's close to 20 different citizenship by investment or quasi-citizenship by investment programs available now. There's dozens of residence by investment programs. If you're a wealthy person, you've got a choice. And let's go through the issues. Again, how long to citizenship? We discussed that. The physical presence, right? If you get a Portugal golden visa or really any golden visa in Europe, you don't have to spend time there. You might be in a pathway to citizenship as you are in Portugal. Other countries, if you don't spend the time, you're not in a pathway to citizenship. But at least you have the optionality with, let's say, a European golden visa. Many other residence permits offer optionality. I've got a permanent residence permit in Colombia. I've got to go one day every year. The U.S. is going to require, generally speaking, 200, 250 times that for the average person. So there's not the optionality. And here's the other issue. Once you have a green card, you are a U.S. taxpayer. I think probably a lot of people from a lot of emerging countries don't understand what that means. Certainly when you get citizenship, you're subject to citizenship-based taxation, no matter where you go. Now, Trump said he was going to end that. Let's see. I would welcome that. I'd love to see more Americans moving overseas because they don't have to deal with the taxes. I mean, we help Americans lower their taxes by moving overseas. But if you're on that green card while you're waiting for your citizenship, yeah, you can't really not be paying taxes while keeping the green card and working towards citizenship. So it's a very high tax cost, which Trump acknowledges. People are going to be coming and paying a lot of taxes. Why would you pay $5 million in a fee? Not an investment, a fee to go and subject yourself to some of the highest tax rates in the world, have all your companies sucked into the US corporate tax net, have just, pay so much money when there's so many other options. This is the service that we offer to our clients. There's dozens of different options. So people think the United States, or they think Switzerland, or they think Singapore, and then they come to us and they end up going somewhere that they never even thought about because we have dozens and dozens of options. I'm not saying that's an ad, although you can go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply and we'll be happy to help you. The U.S. will only benefit if they can leverage, we have a brand and nobody knows about other options. But why would you want to subject yourself to income tax on every penny you make after paying a $5 million fee to not have any faster track to citizenship than you can get in a number of other countries with equal or better passports anywhere else in the world? And so, I think people often misunderstand my reasons for leaving the U.S. I've talked about them extensively, made numerous videos about leaving and why I left and why I gave up citizenship. Yes, one of our many services here is we help people legally reduce their taxes. That does not mean that every decision I make in my personal life is related to taxes. I fundamentally believe the culture in the United States is toxic. I believe that people don't understand in the United States that the world is changing and there are so many options, and that the bank in Singapore doesn't care that you have American money. They really don't care. There's lots of rich people now. They do not care about your money. And in fact, what have I told you repeatedly? They'd rather have the rich Malaysian or Indonesian or Vietnamese client that comes with no baggage. The U.S. is a big empire which puts a lot of baggage on its residents, green card holders, and citizens. Nobody's impressed. Like, a lot of places don't want American money. And so if you're going to get a passport somewhere in a wealthy country, why would you choose that one? You can move to Canada and get citizenship in 3 years. You can get a golden visa in Portugal and work towards citizenship. You can go and pay Malta and get citizenship. You can come and live and realize that those wealthy countries may not be the best place for you. You can come and live here in Malaysia and maybe you'll have a better life. This is what I think more and more people are realizing, except a lot of people in the United States. Now, our American clients realize it. That's why they're our clients. But many of our American viewers don't realize just how bad the tax policies are, but just how much a lot of people looking from the outside in say the United States is not competitive. I applaud creative thinking for how can we get wealthy people to move to a country. I said every country should do that. You want wealthy immigrants, you have to be competitive. I don't think this program is competitive. So for as good as some of the intentions may be, it's not something that I would certainly recommend. And I think people miss when we give this commentary the real reason why I didn't want to be there anymore. And I think that increasingly there's a lot of other people who agree with me, both Americans leaving and people in other places in the world. The U.S. culture is not something they want to be associated with. If Trump eliminates the income tax, I would still not move to the United States. I can live in much better places that I enjoy more, where I'm happier. And I can also pay zero if I want to, or I can pay a little bit because I enjoy it more. And I think that that's one of the elements that's going to factor into this new gold card. Interesting proposal, not one that I think will hit the numbers, and we'll see how it goes.